Everyone, can I get a woo? Perfect. I'm glad that we're all in the mood. I'm Laura Prudham, the TV editor at Mashable, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you here. I know you're all excited to meet the cast and creative team, but before I bring them out, there's a member of the DuckTales family who couldn't make it today, so they sent a special video message for you. Let's take a look.
Hello, D23 Expo. I'm so sorry that I can't be there with you today. Disney did actually send a private plane for me. It was very kind of them, but unfortunately the pilot's having a bit of engine trouble.
Okay, I found the problem.
And some fuel line trouble. Yeah,
that was weird.
Just general being a pilot trouble. I'm also very sad that I won't get to dive headfirst into the Scrooge McDuck-sized money bin that's out there on the convention floor. Please do enjoy that on my behalf. Don't take any of the money though, obviously. Disney have counted it. So, I am thrilled to be carrying on the legacy of Scrooge McDuck in Disney XD's brand new DuckTales. Yes, tales of pulse-pounding peril, curses, secrets, blood-curdling, rip-roaring adventure that will turn your hair as white as your knuckles. It says there. There will probably also be some heartwarming, moral, family that is the greatest treasure of all. So for now, I turn you over to my Duckburg family.
All right, let's start out with the producers. Executive producer Matt Youngberg. Co-producer and story editor Francisco Angones. And art director Sean Jimenez. Hi guys, welcome.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
Hi. Oh, it's work. You guys, that was the theme song to DuckTales, followed by David Tennant.
Yeah,
We're doing
That's bananas.
that's what we're doing.
What?
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Whew.
Well, to kick us off, can each of you, maybe going down the line, tell us about your role in the show and how you got involved in the first place?
Sure, I'm Matt Youngberg. I'm the executive producer of the series, which means mostly that I kind of answer questions and I give directions and I work with pretty much every team to kind of move it in the direction that it needs to go, and working with the writers and with Sean, the art director, and each of our directors to kind of make it the show that you guys all are waiting for. So I started on DuckTales about 2 years ago, but I've been a lifelong DuckTales fan. I'm really excited about this, and I am daunted by the challenge that's ahead of us. So I hope that you love what we're doing, and if you don't, just, keep it to yourself.
My name is Francisco Angones. I am the story editor and co-producer of the new Disney XD version of DuckTales. And essentially, yeah, that's right. That's what we're here for. I am a writer, work with the writers to come up with the stories and interpret all of the amazing things about DuckTales that make it the show that we all love. The thing that we always say that we want to do is we want to try to capture the feeling that old DuckTales fans have when they hear the word DuckTales, and give that feeling Yeah, that's the name of the feeling. It's woo. And give that to a brand new generation of people. I could not be more thrilled to be doing this. I sang the theme song to DuckTales in my grade school talent show. My daughter's first words were woo. It's a dream come true, and to be able to take the legacy not just of the original series, but the Carl Barks comics, the original Donald and Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Yeah, clap for Carl Barks. Woo! D23, give it up for Carl Barks. The international comics, the video games, the everything, and turning it into a thing. Everyone has a different version of DuckTales, and we're really excited to give it to all of you. I hope.
Hi everybody, I'm Sean Jimenez, the art director on the show. When I first came onto it to help on the show with Frank and Matt, think about it in terms of the original series. We have tons of love for the original series, but we have a really great opportunity to. I think the core idea was to go back to the comics that we were excited about, because there's a whole new generation of people. A lot of people aren't very familiar with the comics, and I personally had always loved the aesthetic of an old comic book, like an old aged comic book. So when we came, we're talking about what the style is going to look like, when we went to the original source material, the Carl Barks comics, it was really it was hidden in plain sight, that the look of it might look like a comic book that had come to life, and that it kind of had that aged quality to it, because the source material comes from the past, but we also start taking into account the original series as well. And so this is kind of a dialogue about all of those things mixed together, and it's been really, really fun. It's a bit scary because there's so much love for the franchise as a whole, but Disney's been really great at supporting us in trying to go to new places with it, not just literally new places, but in the look and the sort of progressive quality of it. So it's been really great. And as far as my role as art director now, at the beginning it was about setting up the look of the show, working with these two guys. But now it's about guiding the art team and getting the art team to work within the style of the show, and then basically orchestrate all the incredible ideas, because we have a really, really amazing team on our show. And it's been really, really great to work with such amazing talent. So there we go.
And before we move on to other things, I wanted to make sure that we gave a special shout out to Mark Mueller, who is here in the audience today. If you don't know that name, he is the guy who created that original theme song that's been stuck in your head for 30 years. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, when talking to Mark, he's also the World Guinness Book holder for a person who's had that song stuck in his head for the longest period of time. It's the DuckTales theme song was emblematic of everything that we're doing, is trying to find the middle ground between the original and the new, and Mark couldn't have been more supportive. And so thank you, Mark.
Thank you. I also want to give a shout out to Mike Perazza, who was an artist on the original series. He's also here at D23. I'm not sure if he is in the audience or not, but I wanted to make sure we gave a special shout out to him, because he's been a huge support. And he's an amazing artist. And if you haven't seen it, he did that print that is in the store here, where the old series is meeting the new series, and it's this beautiful print. I encourage you to go get it, because it's fantastic.
And now would you guys like to meet our cast? First up is Ben Schwartz as Dewey Duck. Kate Micucci as Webby Vanderquack. Beck Bennett as Launchpad McQuack. And Kirk Alagandier as Mrs. Beakley. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
How you feeling?
Good.
Oh, so good. These are comfy chairs.
Yeah, my favorite.
Love this.
Well, DuckTales is obviously such a beloved property, so I'd love it if all of you could tell us about your connection to the series and maybe your earliest memory of it going down the line. Maybe if we start with Toads.
My earliest memory of it. When did we start this thing?
2 years ago, Toads.
I've not seen the original, sorry guys. I didn't grow up here. If you can't tell. Yeah, what was the rest of the question?
Your connection to it. Employment.
Employment. Yeah, I get to buy stuff now, it's great.
It's a good start. We're starting this off real nice.
Skit.
Get her off the
No.
It's being real, you know?
It's appropriate.
Love it.
It's appropriate for Tokes' character as Mrs. Beakley, who doesn't have time for nerds like me and Matt and Sean. She has to keep the family in order. She can't watch every episode of every cartoon, you guys.
Thank you.
Of course.
Someone cheered that. Yeah, time management. Yeah.
Don't watch cartoons. I think if we can take away one message, it's don't watch DuckTales.
For me, same thing. I wasn't born here, and for me, it was like like getting home from school and hearing that theme song was like, the first happy moment in my day, which was like snacks and cartoons and no more school. So yeah, that was my first connection to it. And then that was one of my earliest memories in my life. First thing I remember from being a person. And then my connection to it, obviously I grew up watching it and loved it. And got to audition for Launchpad, which I don't really understand the difference between the two of us. So I was very happy to come in and audition for him. And I totally understand it. I'm so happy to be a part of it. Yeah. Thanks, Will.
For me, I grew up watching the Disney Channel and Disney, and I was really obsessed with the Nintendo video game. I kept begging my parents, I really wanted it, and my cousin had it, and she lived an hour away, so I'd visit her and I'd be like, hey, you want to play DuckTales? So that was like my first real connection was through the video game, and then I loved the show, and just same thing, I got to audition and get to bring Webby to life. I feel really lucky to be Webby Vanderquack.
I grew up in New York, and then after public school, every day, me and my friends would go and watch the Disney afternoon from Gummy Bears till whatever was in the last place part, as that changed very often. But would go through the whole gamut, and we would make Kraft macaroni and cheese. We would do it. It was a part of what we did, literally what we did.
Microwave. I did the microwave.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I wasn't to be trusted near an oven or like a pot, so like I had to do microwave. But me and David Fernandez, Jose Fernandez, we watched it every day, and then obsessed with video games. And for 2 years of my life, my ringtone was the Moon theme from the video game. And it's still on my phone, which is very nerdy.
You should say I could brag for you. You just beat the DuckTales.
Oh, there's a remastered version, guys. I beat that on my Xbox. No big deal. I'm sorry. I guess, and I didn't get it for free. I had to pay for it myself. And it's great. And the songs are remastered as well. But this isn't about the video game. But yeah, and then the idea of, I did this might be the audience that knows this show. I did a show on Disney XD called Randy Cunningham, 9th Grade Ninja. And so when I was done with that, we did 100 episodes of that, and then when I found out there was a chance that this was getting rebooted, I remember so badly wanting to audition and being like, oh, please, if I could, let me audition for a nephew or Launchpad, or like, please let me be Gizmo Duck or something. But I remember, and then just all of us auditioned and worked our butts off, and got lucky enough to get chosen. But I'm very, very excited. This show and this role means a lot to me, so I'm very excited to be here with you guys.
Well, for Matt, Frank, and Sean, tell us a little bit about where you're drawing the inspiration from. As you kind of mentioned, there have been lots of iterations of this franchise. Obviously, there's a lot in the comics. There are some kind of callbacks and Easter eggs even in the opening credits to some of the comic panels. So what are you kind of drawing from specifically?
Well, we know that DuckTales means a lot to everyone in some different way, just as you heard from the panel. Like, you have people that love the video game, but maybe not invested as much in the comic books, or people who love the comic book so much, but never really watched the series. So we wanted to be able to pull inspiration from all of these places and create a show that everyone could love equally, and be able to find something that they loved in it.
Yeah, I think to Matt's point, we always used to say that DuckTales is a public trust. You know, we didn't create DuckTales. We didn't create Donald or the boys or Scrooge. They belong to everybody, and so we felt because everyone had a different attachment to the property, we wanted to present a version of that would speak to everyone, and particularly the core of our version of the show is family. It is about treating them like a real, relatable family dynamic. It's why we're so blessed to have this amazing cast come together, because they have unique comedic voices that feel like a genuine family that like each other, with their own secrets and rivalries and in-jokes. And so that becomes the core of everything, because I was 7 when DuckTales premiered, and I identified with Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Webby, and now I have a kid of my own, and I'm identifying with Donald, the frequently frazzled, constantly at odds with his children parent. And so there was something really interesting about bringing back that show and speaking to the family dynamic. You know, as we said, our show begins at Huey, Dewey, and Louie don't know they're related to Scrooge McDuck. All they know is that he has this amazing, crazy legacy, and it's all kind of nebulous. And so that felt like a great place to bring today's kids in. You know, with us standing in as Scrooge and saying, let me tell you about DuckTales, you guys, it's awesome. And learning as the kids learn about their family and their family history. They come from this amazing family of the world's greatest adventurers.
And the stakes are like really high, because it's like high adventure. So what we are noticing, it's not fully intentional, but subconsciously, because we all are kind of into the same stuff, and we kind of grew up around the same era. Some of the influences that sort of seep into like the storytelling is a lot of like movies from the 80s that we love, like John Carpenter movies and Richard Donner movies, like
the Amblin movies.
And it just was like kind of pouring in, and so there's a great kind of it's not even intentional. It's just like that tone is influencing us a lot, and it's getting into the show as you see it, as the show progresses. A lot of this like kind of like dynamic gets in there, so that's another like kind of influence that we didn't even intend on.
It's awesome, I love it. Ben, everyone thinks that Huey, Dewey, and Louie are totally identical, and in the original show, you know, there was some similar differences, but it was mostly they were kind
and in the comics they wore the same color sometimes every now and then, right?
Yeah,
very
true story. Sometimes there'd be a printing error, and they would print a fourth nephew. And comics fans being comics fans, they said, that's the lost nephew, Fooey.
Oh!
Fooey.
By the way, Will Smith is voicing Fooey. Bring him out! Could you imagine?
I think my favorite casting that I heard was Helen Mirren as Doofus.
Sorry, I interrupted your question.
That's quite right. I like the vamping. It's much better than me.
Oh.
But obviously, because they all have kind of distinct personalities, I think that's something that you guys really wanted to bring in this season, this series. So, what differentiates him from his brothers?
Yeah, I'll say my answer, then you guys can tell me if I'm wrong.
That's a very Dewey answer.
By the way, I'm nailed. He's super Jewish. No. It's just me. Thank you for that woo for Jewish. In my head, this is what it is, and what I think is lovely, and because being a fan of the show, the original show, and then seeing how the nephews are portrayed, maybe that in the old version Huey's the leader, or that Webby might be like just along for the ride. I think these two humans here and the writers have done such an amazing job in giving them sincere personalities that if you have a favorite, it won't just be because you like the color blue or red. In my head, Danny Pudi, who plays Huey, is more of like you can absolutely applaud for Danny if you want. He's more of like the Junior Woodchuck guy. He's more of the guy who kind of learns everything and kind of like takes his time and loves all those aspects. I play Dewey. I play this gentleman who is no longer wearing a hat, by the way. No big deal. Spoiler alert. But I would say that mine is like, Dewey's that middle child who wants to be seen, and if there's an adventure to be had, he is the first to jump. He's the first to jump and try to prove himself and show like, oh, this is what I can do. And there's some storylines that these two, everybody, the writers in the audience have created that it's like, takes you through like the idea of what that type of personality is, to be seen and to jump into things. And I would say Louis, who's voiced by Bobby Moynihan on Saturday Night Live. I would say that he's more of the guy that's like laid back, and his idea of Huey and I would love to like work hard and make our money by going on adventures. Louis would be, if he could sit back and make $1 million, he will have led the perfect life. And then Webby, but I'm sure you haven't. I'm not going to jump on Webby, but the idea is in that you have these 3 different personalities, and playing with the idea that they were born seconds apart, yet that's what makes them older, middle.
And I find myself moving around a lot when I play Webby, but I think that only helps me to be her. Yeah.
You know, one of the big things that we wanted to do is make sure that it was never the boys or the nephews, it was always the kids. And to incorporate, you know, part of the show is that it's a weird big family, and that Webby was equally as much one of the nephews as Huey, Dewey, and Louie. And to speak to the distinctions that these guys brought to the roles, it wasn't just us, it was, this is absolutely true. After we found this amazing cast, I went back and rewrote the first 2 episodes and tailored them to the voices of the guys that we got, because they understood the characters implicitly and brought something new to it. And it was just such a thrill to have that dynamic, you know, that we have with the voice cast, with the board artists, the amazing board artists who are in the audience, and directors that are in the audience, and the design team and everybody. And it does feel like, you know, most of the times you work on a cartoon and it's like, well, I do my part, and you know, the actors come in and do their part, etc. And it really does feel like the voice of the show is the voice of the crew, the cast, and everybody involved in it. And I think it's a genuine sincerity that comes off of you guys. So thank you guys, all of you. Yeah.
Launchpad has always been a lovable doofus.
What?
What do you appreciate most about him, and why do you think Scrooge keeps him around when he seems to crash every single vehicle he ever touches?
He's cheap. Like, I don't cost that much. I don't cost anything. I don't know how much I actually cost to be his valet and pilot. He keeps me around because, well, one of the things I love the most about him is that he never gets down on himself. He's never like, oh, I messed up. Oh well, he's just like, doesn't even come into his brain at all. He'll crash stuff and be like, great, I did a great job. And he'll find a way to turn it into a positive, which I think is something like I have a little bit of that, I would say. But, you know, whenever you like mess up and you're like, oh, I said that thing or did that thing, it's like, that is not a part of his brain. There is no awareness there, which I love. It's really fun to perform that. And then Scrooge keeps him around because he's so loyal. He loves him so much. He lives for Scrooge. Yeah, he just like lives to make his life better and protect him. So, even though he's always frustrated with Launchpad, he knows deep down he's his best bud.
And I think Scrooge also sees that he's game for anything because he doesn't question anything.
Yes, he will do anything.
It's like, hey, you want me to drive into that or fly into that storm? Sure. No, not a problem. Yeah, other people would be a little bit more wary of going on adventures, whereas Launchpad would not.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And Tokes, it looks like Mrs. Beakley kind of has the unenviable job of cleaning up after Scrooge and the boys, but it seems like she's also kind of the glue holding the whole thing together. So what do we need to know about her going into the show, and do you think we'll see her get any action of her own, going on any adventures with them at any point?
She might. I mean, you know, watch it, right?
TBD.
Yeah, no, she takes no nonsense and cleans up everything, and not necessarily with the best sense of humour either. She's always upset. She's just always angry. It's great. She's just, Yeah, she has absolutely no sense of humor. But that's funny, trust me. Wait for it. Yeah, but it's a lot of fun, and
She has some of the best lines, I think, just from what I've seen so far.
Okay.
Just the deadpan delivery, I just love her. I think that
everyone has some of the best lines because it's just really well written. It really is. I read every single episode that I get from beginning to end before I come in, and I always have a great time doing it. Yeah, she's something else. That's what I'll say. She's something else. And when I do that role, I try to embody my very stoic Norwegian grandmother. So we'll just leave it at that.
Very nice. Well, Matt and Frank, you guys have a lot of familiar characters coming back, and I know Gizmo Duck is one of them, who will be voiced by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who I know a lot appreciates. So tell us a little bit about the updates that you've made to his character for the new series, and then give us a tease of maybe some of the other returning folks we're going to see.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to take that call first, or you're fine?
Huh?
I'll
I'll tell you, I'm not even lying. I was convinced that was my line producer telling me my fly was down. So anyway, Gizmo Duck. Gizmo Duck. Yeah. So I'm Cuban. I grew up in Miami. Yes, Cuban. Thank you.
They make a really good sandwich.
How dare you? How dare you? I will see you at the panini press outside. And growing up, I was also a huge comic book fan. And yeah, comic books as well. You guys like everything. You are going to love this show. And as a Latino growing up, you had one... as a Latino growing up, you had one option for superheroes, and that was Vibe. And he, DC Comics character Vibe, he had breakdance powers, and he was a gang member. He could not have been more of this weird token. They've revived him and changed him a lot, but that's what I had. And so it was really important to me, you know, even now if you look at the multiplexes, there isn't a lot of Latino representation in superheroes. So I thought it would be great for my kids and kids like my kids to have a superhero that was not the token Latino superhero, but was the main superhero of DuckTales, this beloved character. You know, our version of him is part Peter Parker, part Iron Man. And as we approach every revamp of an older character, we try to find the Corvin. We looked at Fenton Crackshell, the original Gizmo Duck, and we said, he's full of ideas, he's a fast talker, he's impossibly sincere, and he just wants to do the best job he can. And I was like, well, that's Lin-Manuel Miranda. But we're never gonna get Lin-Manuel Miranda. But I had the good fortune to write the Gizmo Duck introduction episode, and I was like, I'm just gonna write it as if it's Lin, and if we don't get Lin, then we'll just have someone try to live up to Lin. And I wrote this letter, and I essentially told him that. I said, look, this is who I am. I'm a huge fan of yours. I didn't know that he was also a massive DuckTales fan. And to the point where when he came in to record the first time, he sang the Moon theme to us. And he got the letter, not even knowing, you know, if we could get it. Ben was... I texted Ben maybe 5 times a week.
Yeah.
It's like, has Lin read the letter? Has Lin read the letter? Do you know if Lin's read the letter?
Yeah.
And he said yes. He's an impossibly busy human being. We will record him whenever we can record him because it's such a joy to be able to have this character. You know, one of the things about our version of the show, we've always gone on globetrotting adventures with DuckTales. We wanted to represent a world that kids see around them every day, even though it's a bunch of ducks, you know, or pigs or dogs or whatever. And so that was, you know, if we do nothing else for DuckTales, we will have done that. And I'm really proud of that.
Characters that you can tease as well as Gizmo Duck?
Other characters, well, if you loved it in the original series, Frank can speak to this. This is in your tweet, his pinned tweet of, if you love the character, you will see it, right? Or we do too.
Yeah, we love the character too, and absolutely they will be back. The idea is, it's such a huge world, it's a huge legacy of this DuckTales world, this Disney Ducks world that we all know and love. If we need a role for a new character, we're going to go back into the history of Disney and try to pull something out. I can say, I'll say this. So Ludwig von Drake, everyone know Ludwig von Drake? Famous Disney Duck. So the thing is, we have Gyro Gearloose, of course, who's very closely tied, played by the amazing Jim Rash. And so we had Ludwig von Drake, who's another famous Disney duck scientist. It's like, we can't just have two Disney duck scientists. So one of the great things we have is because Scrooge has this long legacy of adventure spanning back decades, we said, well, at every period in his life, he must have had the same kind of group of people. He always had a bruiser and a scientist and a whatever. So we do have an episode that goes back to 60s and a little bit of Scrooge and Beakley's past, in which Ludwig von Drake sort of serves as the Cube-style weapons master and gives Scrooge his action pogo cane from the video game. So that's a prop cameo. Does that count?
Yeah, and it is really important for us to be able to, when we're trying to come up with a new story, we can either look at what beloved characters do we want to use, and how can we find a story for them, and how we fit them into our world. So we'll look at beloved characters, not just from the old series, but we'll look at Disney classics, and we'll look at the comic books. And the comic books are so beloved around the world that there's a lot of characters who never even showed up in DuckTales, the original series. But we're like, but that character's so amazing and iconic. Let's introduce it to a new audience that hasn't read the comic books. And so we'll bring them in. Other times we'll be coming up with a story, and it will be, what's the right character for it? So we'll have to find a character that fits it. Either come up with somebody new, but if there's something that's created that we can bring into our world, we want to try to do that first.
Nice. And Sean, can you talk a little bit about updating some of the iconic looks that we'll see? Maybe Gizmo Duck is one. How did you kind of re-envision these characters, and what did you kind of take from the old, and what did you kind of want to do?
Again, I'm kind of going to echo what Matt said. Is we first will kind of go to the character that, you know, is in the, if it goes back to the comics, we start there, look at the DuckTales series. But I think what ends up happening is we kind of always sit down and we'll start talking about it. I think the important thing is that a lot of the characters' persona that we see when we have read it or watched it, it kind of acts as a seed. And then it opens up, it kind of tends to grow, and then that's when you'll like kind of mix and match. You know, again, like with Gizmo, it's like kind of Iron Man-ish, but there's still something it's a current idea. So we're constantly looking at the past and present all at the same time, and then I guess what happens is we mix it all together and we start talking about what's going to be like when we make the show and when it comes out in the future. So I know it's kind of like it goes into like a stew, and we mix it around, and it could come from lots of different places, you know. And we tend to going back to Carl Barks, we always think of doing it the way that the old Disney artists did it, and the way Carl Barks did it. You always go back to the source material. So you also take into consideration not just the character, but what their nationality is, or what their possible history is, and from what place does that come from. And so we'll go into that, to that extent, to try to find something fresh to add to it or to elaborate on in the new character.
Well, one of the great things that you did when you guys were cracking, both Matt and Sean and our amazing design team, cracking the new look of these iconic ducks. I mean, Donald Duck has been around way before we were born and will be around long after we're gone. Bringing in not just the Carl Barks, but also looking at some of the stuff that like Milt Call did for the original TV, the Von Drake stuff and Scrooge McDuck and Money, and it really is, again, not just the stories that we're talking about, but the art style and the art influences come from this huge, rich history of Disney love and various styles.
And I'd actually like to put that it's functionality too. You know, it is a TV series, it is a cartoon series. It has budgetary constraints and schedules and things. And there's a way of designing the characters. Like, for example, how we cracked Should we talk about how we cracked like Donald the Beak language of all?
Beaks are hard, you guys.
The beaks are really hard.
Beaks are really hard.
Like thinking,
Don't get into the business of drawing ducks.
yeah, thinking in terms of like animating these characters, you know, a lot of times they're very complex to draw because the beaks are like a piece of architecture that's like stuck on a soft, squishy, feathery pillow, you know, and that's really hard to draw, especially like three-dimensionally. So, but we also wanted to honor like what has been made before, what's been cracked before, and so Karl Barks did a certain duck bill, and we looked out to that. We got very scientific with it. We had all the art up on the wall, and we were picking and choosing and drawing and having our artists take different stabs at trying to figure out and crack the duck beak problem. How do you streamline it in a way that it could be animated by tons of people and done in an economic way, but still look graphically interesting? So we went to, you know, if people are familiar with Milt Kahl, like he's a great Disney legend, but he had an ability to streamline and do things graphically really in an interesting way. So we kind of like squished Karl Barks and Milt Kahl together, and that's how we kind of found our beak sort of style.
Yeah, it was, I think the most important thing as we were developing this style was making sure that we were true to what had come before, but giving the audience something that felt current. And by going back to those original sources, that's what we were able to do. And it was really important. We tried some crazy design exploration, but at the end of the day, we kind of hit on this weird uncanny valley thing. It's like the uncanny valley, if you're doing CG and you're trying to do a human and it doesn't look quite right, that's called the uncanny valley. You know there's something off about it, but you can't tell what it is. That's how it is with these legacy characters. You have Donald Duck, and if you get too far from it, it doesn't feel like Donald Duck anymore. So being able to pull from these old influences and then let it meld into our modern sensibilities kind of got us out of that uncanny valley and created these, helped to identify these characters a little bit more.
Fantastic. Well, we are going to make time for audience questions, so if you want to start lining up now, I think there will be people on either side with microphones, but before that, I think, Matt, do you have something you want to talk about?
Do you guys want to see something? Yeah. You've been listening to us jabber on, and it's not very fun. So we brought you a special clip. This is from the series premiere, not the DuckTales premiere. So we're having a special event coming up on August 12th. That's a special two-parter event that kicks off the series, and then in September we have the series premiere. And so what you're going to see is what happens in the series premiere. So that the kickoff event is the setup of the series. The family meets each other for the first time, and they go off on their big first adventure. And where we pick up with them in this clip is kind of they're starting to live together, and this is how it's going to be from now on. So this is the new normal. So with that, roll clip.
This is the cold open to Day Trip of Doom, episode 3. And we work really hard on DuckTales. We've been working so hard that we wanted to put together like a teaser of a season, stuff like that, and we could not do it because I always say that the recipe for a person who works on DuckTales is 50% a person who's so excited that you can't believe you're working on DuckTales, and 50% so terrified of messing it up, so you spend every night, sleepless night, trying to fix it, make it a little better. So we could not put together a teaser of our series, but we could put together an animatic of a teaser of our series. So here is, again, this is, if you don't know an animatic, it's like a storyboard with voices and etc. and a nice little animatic teaser of where we're going over the course of the first season. So roll clip.
Aha! Well, according to these markings, the Atlanteans were so eager to build an epic city of wonders and death traps, they didn't stop to figure out a proper support structure, and the whole thing fell into the sea. You kids best stay by the sub while I scout ahead.
Dewey ran in as soon as you said death traps.
Come on, Scrooge! We got this!
I finally got my driver's license.
Oh, wait, what?
This can't be happening! One of the greatest mysteries of Clan McDuck.
Should have seen that coming.
How did someone so brilliant raise such morons?
I think she's talking about you.
There you have it. Reclusive adventure capitalist Scrooge McDuck is back with family in tow.
What? You like nerd stuff? I like gold. Come on.
I'm 100% sure I'm going to regret this.
Let's do this.
We're going to die down here.
Bravo! Bravissimo! Oh!
Alrighty, it's time for your questions. I think we've got mics on both sides. We got someone over there. We only have about 12, 13 minutes left, so everyone try and keep your questions succinct. I'm not very good at that, but you guys I believe in. So go and we'll try and get through as many as possible.
I was wondering, because keeping in line with the comics, as Marvel is a part of Disney now, if we could ever see Howard the Duck?
Yes. I would encourage you to start a very strong letter writing campaign because that would be great.
That would be so great. Yes.
I got Darkwing Duck.
Thank you.
Excuse me, are we going to see any other party references to other Disney shows like Darkwing Duck or Duck Kid or Tailspin or Gummy Bears?
Are you talking about the Terror that Flaps in the Night? The overstuffed burrito that falls into the lap of iniquity? I have never heard of this character.
No, it's not familiar.
Next question.
Hey, just had a question about some of the themes that may or may not continue from the old series. Like, you know, everybody tries to be educational and stuff, but DuckTales kind of went into some deep stuff. It was going into economics. I mean, you know, I was like, wow, kind of blown away. You know, what was it? Work smarter, not harder. It's all about productivity. And next thing I know, there's this duplicator ray, and they're teaching about inflation and monetary policy. And it's like Scrooge McFriedman. But it's a Milton Friedman joke. But anyway,
that got it.
Yeah. Okay. So, just wondering how much of that type of stuff is. Are we going to see more of that? Or no, and also some other stuff I learned. I actually did become a pilot, so Launchpad, watch out, because I did learn from that show that any accident you can walk away from, any landing you can walk away from, is a good landing.
It's true. It's true.
All right. Yes. No, we definitely have a lot of things that we explore through the series. You know, one of our early episodes is Scrooge seeing Louis unproductive and deciding that he wants to teach him a little bit about productivity. So that's one of the early episodes. And yeah, as it goes on, we definitely explore more things like that. But in the DuckTales way, just as you were saying, you know, with duplicated rays
and giant robots.
And giant robots and all that kind of good stuff. Because, you know, who wants to learn about economics if it doesn't have a giant robot?
Thank you. Next question.
Hi. It's obvious that not only all of us in this room, but virtually everyone on the panel have been big fans of the original animated series. And going into the new series, I was wondering, maybe this question could probably be for each one of you. Is there a particular episode that you liked from the original series that you would like to see enter into the new series in a new form?
Yes, so we did it.
Yeah, I would say so. You know, for myself, I know my favorite from the original series was Double O Duck. Thank you. Yeah, it was the combination of spy movies and kids TV that I just love so much, and you know, it's.
I mean, one of the other like amazing things about the original DuckTales was those amazing 5-parters. You know, those big extended storylines. That was something no one else was really doing. on syndicated animated shows in the 80s. So we definitely took some hints of that, some larger story elements, some bigger mysteries, because again, this is about a family that has their share of family secrets. So there are definitely some story elements that will carry us through our season.
And in the backgrounds, I mean, we constantly pepper in little Easter eggs of things. And the crew is so into, you know, they love the series as well, the original series. And even the crew will bring it, you know, even if we're not intentionally trying to put it in there, there's gonna be call outs. Like, just keep your eyes peeled, because there's a lot of stuff hidden in the backgrounds that you'll see is a call out to the original series and to the comic books again. So, yeah.
Hey guys, my name's Matt. First of all, huge fan.
His name is Matt.
That's so weird. We're the same guy.
Good job, bud.
Huge fan of DuckTales since I was a kid, and huge fan of just the cast in general. Ben, huge fan of House of Pies. I can't wait for the new season.
Oh, thank you so much, man. It got canceled. Talk to you soon. Oh, appreciate it. Oh, but I know you just made a Comedy Bang Bang reference. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And it's Matt, right?
It's Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, I know that you guys, most of the cast comes from a comedy background, improv background, so how much did you guys get to really riff and do some improv or kind of make, you know, just kind of riff on the characters?
How would you answer that?
What made the cut?
Yeah, that's what my question is. I don't know how much I improv yet until I find out what actually they used.
I can definitely say there is a scene in the premiere pilot that there is no doubt that Ben Schwartz is playing Dewey Duck.
I would say some of the biggest laughs we'll get in the premiere are improv lines. But what we try to do is we give the structure, we have the script, and then we hopefully, you guys can speak to this, try to give you guys room to explore a little bit. You know, sometimes we'll get it back to where the script is, and sometimes we'll like what you guys are doing better. But
yeah, they'll put it in a place where it's not like we're inventing storylines or anything like that, but the writing is such that you could add to it and just the attitude of what you're doing and kind of throw something in the tail, throw something in the beginning to get you ramped up to get excited or something like that. But it's super fun to pepper stuff in there, but the script as is when you get it is pretty great, man. So I think one of the big things when I was a kid, I was enamored and in love with this show, but that makes this unique is that it's so funny. The scripts are like truly funny, but you're a lot of voice actors will not read the scripts beforehand. I always do because I'm a nerd, but this one it's like. I look forward to reading the script when I get it because I know it's going to make me laugh and I'm going to be interested.
Thanks, guys.
And 100% of it is improvised. Next question. I talk about writing and then I...
Anyway, the writing's really good, but
Matt,
you don't want
nice to
really
meet you.
good, right?
Hello.
I have fish in my pockets.
You have fish in your pocket, sir?
No one got that?
They're having their own panel over there.
Okay,
It's a Carl Barks reference.
Oh,
It's a Carl Barks reference.
So the question I have is, we've seen a lot of characters from DuckTales that are going to be in the show, but one that I'm kind of curious about how he got probably left by the wayside is Duckworth. Did he make it into the early concepts?
We have already premiered Duckworth and no one's found him.
By the way, there's a lot of Easter eggs in that opening sequence. Like a lot of Easter eggs in that opening sequence, and not everybody has found them yet. There's some real tasty treats in there.
Roll clip. Thank you. Duckworth does exist.
Roll clip.
Thank you.
Now, you guys mentioned you've pulled stuff from many different versions of DuckTales, and no less than 3 times has the moon theme been mentioned on this panel. So I'm wondering, does the moon theme actually make it into the show somewhere?
Watch the show. Next question.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Angel.
We are terrible at answering questions.
We're real bad, guys. It's not going well. So my question is, looking at all the material that's come out so far and the stuff you guys have shown, Donald's playing a bigger role in this version of the series. What changed the whole dropping the kids off and going the Navy route? versus actually being an active player in the cartoon?
I would say it's partly due to the fact that we could use him and we were excited to be able to use him, and partly the exploration of the theme that we're doing, which is about family. Especially in this first season, we were exploring a lot about what family is and what it means to be a part of this family that has this rich legacy, and discovering what that family is. And to do that without the nephew's really struggling single father type uncle seemed to be doing a disservice to the idea of family. And having Donald come in as this, as someone that we as parents can now relate to, it was a really interesting angle that we thought we could dig into.
Yeah, and also in terms of expanding the cast to be a full real ensemble. In the original DuckTales, I mean, Scrooge was amazing, and he came up against all these obstacles and conquered them every time. We felt it was a good idea to give him a couple of foils who could actually call him out and put him in his place. And that's definitely, Scrooge loves risk, and Donald can't stand it, so that felt like a good thing. It's part of the reason that Mrs. Beakley was up to being more someone who can call Scrooge out on both how he relates to his family and his life. So it was, again, more towards going to that family dynamic.
Thanks a lot.
Hi. First, I just wanted to say that you guys have an incredible art team. I love them a lot.
Yeah, they're amazing. You're amazing.
Very amazing.
You're amazing.
And this question is for Sean, but anybody that has an answer. What's your favorite part, like production-wise, when you're making a new episode of DuckTales?
I think I'm experiencing something very unique on this show. Part of the reason why I got the gig is because I worked on I worked on Gravity Falls, and I worked on the Making Show. And there was sort of that brain trust idea where the core people are kind of coming up and getting in a room together and coming up with ideas. On Gravity, it was great, but Alex Hirsch kind of, he was sort of the prime mover of the ideas and concepts. On DuckTales, it feels like it's a lot of really good people that are actually getting in a room and actually participating in the creative process. And working with Matt and Frank, it's a pure joy to get into the room when they're breaking a story. So Frank and Matt and the writers will get together and they'll kind of like lay the groundwork, the bones of the story. But I get a chance to come into the story room at a certain point and kind of help come up with like what we call like technically like spatial concepts or conceptual ideas, and that part is the very best. It's so exciting because you're inside a room. You don't really. It's very like intimate, and you're just coming up with stories together, coming up with stories around a campfire. And it's an incredible feeling that when you do that, you feel like you're in a vacuum, and then the show comes out, and like thousands and thousands of people are watching it. You get a buzz from that. There's no doubt. And that's sort of the greatest part. And then really equal to that, I would say, is working with the team. What's great about Disney is you get a chance to through Disney, you get to cultivate really great talent, and everybody is like putting like 100% more of they're putting their lives. You're dumping your life into it. So I would say that's the second part. It's like they're both work together. But yeah, that's what I do. That's why I do what I do. Yeah.
And I'm very sorry, guys, but that is all we have time for.
Actually, I have to say one more thing that I was told. If I say nothing else, there is a filter on Snapchat. So use it.
A special DuckTales that's only here at D23.
Only today, I think. Yeah,
I think so. So if you have Snapchat, jump on.
From 4 till 9 p.m. today, you can use a special geo-specific Snapchat filter. Make sure you all do it. People are doing it right now. Do it.
Yeah, we waited till now so that you would pay attention to us.
And you will each receive a D23 Expo exclusive Scrooge McDuck giveaway as you exit this room. Be sure to bring it over to the Scrooge McDuck money bin in Hall B and show it to a staff member for another DuckTales exclusive gift while supplies last, which is almost better than his gold, am I right? Woo. Give me a big round of applause for these wonderful people. And tune into the on Saturday, August 12th, beginning at midnight on Disney XD, and then the series will debut with 2 new episodes on Saturday, September 23rd, with multiple airings throughout the day. Thanks, guys.